All right, welcome back. We had a good break. We now have John Ross, and he is going to talk to us about chaga.
Hello, John Ross Shaiji, Inushin Denayanak Shaiji, Dene Eshlan. Uh, my name is John Ross. My Denina name is Inushin. I'm Denina at the Baskin from here around Cook Inlet. Tikahtnu Kayach. My village is Kenai. Gasilatnu Dakak Chu Testagaitun Ketnu Dagaili Yeshtu Shiti. I live in at Peters Creek and also at the mouth of the Kasilof. Gini Shekenu Kilanda. This is my family. Sheulan, my wife Leandra. Nachanikna, our children, 4 daughters. And my wife is Klinkit from Ketchikan and Klawak. And she's part of the Tsagwe D Killer Whale Clan and Eagle Moiety. And Klinkit, just like Denina, are matrilineal, and so my girls follow their mom with their clan. Ginishishungta chu shabachain na kilanda. This is my mom and my aunties, and I just want to recognize my parents, Alan and Linda Ross. My mom is from Kenai. My dad is from Vancouver Island. Gini shicheakta ina gaila, shiungchukta shichara chuda. These are my grandparents, Harry and Julia Mann, and my grandmother's mother, Mary Makaroff was her maiden name. All from Kenai. Na Elnena Gini D means this is our land. Denina Elnena is the traditional territory of the Denina people. And so this is kind of like a mini land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgements are happening more and more in meetings these days. And so I want to recognize the people of this land, the Denina, this territory, and our mountains and rivers and plants and animals. And also I want to recognize the local Denina people here from Aklutna. Idluret Hitana, or Idluret Kayaktana, the Klutna people. Specifically also Aaron Leggett, their tribal chief, and some of their elders that I've known for many years, like Alberta Stefan, Lee, Dorothy Cook. So, Suku Yagali Nagandaninyu, Yagalich Kotilna Ilninichdat. That means welcome. It's good that we're gathered here today for this plant conference, and the topic today right now is Katnitsei, which is Chaga in the Denina language. And even before I get started, I just want to say Dukadli, or I'm sorry, because I am not the, I don't consider myself to be an expert on everything to do with Chaga. I know as much as I know. I've been studying it for about 10 years and using it, but I'm still learning like the rest of us. The name Katnitsei, it means to ignite in our language, and Chaga was used by our people for many purposes, but as a kindling with a fire drill. It was ground into a powder and used to start fires. It's also used as a medicinal tea. So you might have seen on some of the videos that we're playing, one of the store outside your door shows that the Tribal Health Consortium produced was about Chaga with the Kanaitsi, and I was able to be a part of that. That happened in 2013. It wasn't very long after I started learning about Chaga. But how did I start learning about Chaga? The lady pictured here on the right is Helen Dick, and she's my language teacher. Her dad was also one of my language teachers, Pete Bobby. And so I would spend time with her, and one time I was out with her at the lake, Spirit Lake in Kenai, and she started to tell me I should look into this certain kind of fungus that grows on the birch trees. I didn't know anything about it. She just kind of said, you know, I should do this. And then the next time I saw her, she asked if I had done it, and I hadn't. So, and then the next time I saw her, she asked again, and I was like, oh my gosh, I better look into this. And so I did. I started looking into it. At that time, there was very little information on chaga. A lot more has come out since then. But in the Dena'ina plant lore book, it does list chaga in here, and I have a picture there in the middle. It's actually the very last entry in this book, and it talks about chaga. It doesn't call it chaga. It says black birch burl. It does list the Dena'ina name. It talks about some of the uses for fire starting and things like that, and medicinal uses for tea. And it's also noted that it is that only a small amount should be used because it's the birch's alcohol and is strong. So at Helen's insistence, I started looking into it, and come to find out, well, I'll come to that in a minute. This is from Peter Kalifornsky's book, Kutlagai Sukdu, Remaining Stories, and this one is about the old Dena'ina life. And just one of the quotes from here, it says, Yari nudnelyachi kudulyi, nil el nukulnish, chuyari nudnelyachi delqet, which means they told each other what plants are medicine and what plants they ate. And that's kind of what we're doing here today. And another source for information, this was a more recent source. This wasn't available when I started looking into it. But the Boreal Herbal, Beverly Gray, she lists the scientific name Inanotus obliquus, describes it as a parasitic birch fungus, also known as clinker polypore, birch canker polypore, found growing on living birch trees. And it is black on the outside and has a burnt looking exterior and a red rust interior. Beverly says that teas are used to treat cancer, and she lists many places that the chaga is found, including North America, Poland, Siberia, and Russia. I think most of the northern hemisphere. Interestingly, the further north you go, the medicinal content is higher. I'm not sure if that's because of the cold temperatures or what. Let's see. Here's another book. This is just on chaga. Cass Ingram. He wrote a book called The Cure is in the Forest, The Healing Powers of Wild Chaga Mushroom. Talked about how chaga gives enormous energy and strength, reverse serious diseases including cancer, heart disease, lung disease, pain syndromes, eczema, psoriasis, high blood pressure. This is just kind of some of the list of some of the scientific and chemical properties: antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-tumor, immune stimulating, liver supporting, antibacterial. There's some of the main ingredients, including melanin, betulin, let's see, It is a top source of a wide variety of nutrients, and it is rich in enzymes. There are massive amounts of the enzyme superoxide dismutase, which is rarely found in any edible substance. It acts to absorb noxious free radicals before they can damage the body. And another book. This was really the first book that really I began to find out more information about chaga. It's called Chaga, the King of Medicinal Mushrooms by David Wolfe. And this came out 2012. Yeah, and that's right when a lot of information was starting to come out. There's just a ton of information in here on chaga, the history of it, the uses, recipes, many different recipes. Some of the things it says here on the back of the book make it easier to feel the enchantment of the living, activating your imagination while immediately delivering forces and compounds that aid, nourish, and heal. Fight cancer, detoxify radioactive and chemotherapeutic agents, create super immunity against viruses while fighting allergies and asthma, balance blood sugar levels, reduce systemic inflation, heal digestive ailments such as candida, and help the liver purify itself, nourish the hair, skin, and eyes, help you achieve vibrant health and radiant beauty. That's a lot. And the claim on both of those books is that it's the most powerful medicinal herb on the planet. So that's kind of interesting. In this book also, I mentioned there's some recipes in here. This is two of the recipes. One is for the alcohol extract, the other is just for tea. And that is a picture of alcohol extract. So harvesting. Chaga is very hard to find. I don't know how many of you have gone around to try to find chaga, but it can be confused with some other just like woody burls, birch burls. But it is extremely rare, and so I've heard a ratio of 1 to every 5,000 birch trees. I'm not sure exactly what the ratio is, but a lot of times in mixed spruce and birch areas where you have some hills and ravines, that's some of the best places to find it. Here in this picture, I have an axe there. I did use an axe to harvest it. They come off pretty easy. You could even bang it off with a rock probably. When I harvest them, I usually knock the tree 3 times just as a tradition to acknowledge the tree and what I'm doing, and say a prayer of thanksgiving and for the use of what I'm going to do with it, and I'll leave something. I normally only take the larger ones. I just let the smaller ones grow. This is what it looks like when you break it open, and so it's got and I've got one right here too. So it's black on the outside, very hard, and then on the inside it's a reddish, and it is softer. You could pluck it, or if you have a knife, you can dig it out, and that's how what I do with it. It can be eaten too, and so in David Wolfe's book, he has a number of recipes for using it as food and just sprinkling on food or other kinds of recipes. Um, on the video, you might have noticed that I will take this, if I use a knife and I take it out, I don't use the black on the outside, although apparently it's the same material. It would make your tea more bitter, so I don't use that. I'll scrape that off, or I will dig it out and not use the black part. And you'll get pieces of the red stuff, and if you do get stuff that's closer to the black, you'll notice it's a lot harder. And so if you're putting it into a grinder to grind it up, you can actually destroy your grinder with some of those really hard pieces. And so you either have to have a heavy-duty grinder or make sure you're not putting those really hard pieces in there. So with the chunks, you can make the tea. You can use it on your food. You can make it into more of a powder. I like the grounds not too powdery. And so last night, I've never used the Keurig with my tea before, but I did. I took an empty Keurig container that has opens with a lid and screen inside, and poured it in there, and it worked great. And it was like really nice and dark. And then I just reused the same one, and my daughter had a cup of tea, and we even did it a third time. And after you use the tea, you can just dry it. You can save it. You can reuse it. As long as you're getting color out of it, you're getting medicinal benefit. This is the powder. You can buy chaga at the store. You can buy it in chunks, in bags. You can buy it as a powder. You can buy grounds. I suppose you can buy the whole big chunks of it if people sell it like that as well. The sale of it can be controversial. You know, you're not too sure where it's been harvested or how it's been harvested. Of course, we don't want to over-harvest, but at the same time, we want to use our medicines, because if we don't use them, they're going to go away. So there's a lot of things to consider with that. I have this is the iced tea that we made. Let's see. I don't have a whole lot else. I wanted to leave some room for questions and answers. So, you want to take some questions?
So you can go ahead and ask questions in the question and answer section. And while we're waiting for people to ask questions, I'll ask John a question. John, how long do you let your tea steep?
So, when I made the tea with the Keurig, it's instant.
Yeah.
You know, so there's instant. I have in the past made a lot of. I will use a big pot, and I'll put a good amount of grounds in the bottom of that, and I will fill it with water, and I will bring it up almost to a boil, and then I'll just let it sit, and I'll leave it on the stove. I'll turn it off and let it just sit in there for a day or two, and then I'll strain it, and then I would put it in a big container and keep it in the fridge, so like iced tea.
Yeah.
So you can steep it for days, or you can have it instant.
Nice. So do you just keep it in the fridge, or do you jar it at all and keep it for later?
I don't jar it or
Just
keep it for
drink it.
later, no.
Okay. Right. So the first question is, how much use do you get out of the one chaga on your desk there? So that size of a chaga.
Um, I would say with this one here, or this one here,
Yeah, probably the big one.
probably the big one, that would be enough for tea for a couple people for months,
Yeah.
months. And it's probably enough for um, a large batch of extract. I do my batches at about 5 gallons, uh, and that would probably be enough for that.
And do you have it every day, your chaga, or how often would
Yeah,
you have it?
because it is such a strong medicine, when I first started studying it, I heard that you should take a month off at a time. And so I'll use it every day, and then I do take a month to 2 months off, you know, uh, maybe every 6 months or so.
Can you talk about how you dry or store chaga? I was given some and it ended up growing white mold.
Okay. Let's see if I have any pictures. Like that container there, I think is a good one. It used to have a plastic thing to really seal it, airtight, but I took that out and I just leave it with the metal lid. If you have moisture in there, I believe it will start to mold probably. So you want to get that moisture out and not seal it in there.
So like maybe a cookie sheet for like a week or
Yeah,
so.
cookie sheet. Um, and before I even start to process them, I will dry them for at least probably a couple weeks, and they can just be in your garage or wherever.
How much does chaga usually cost?
So I mentioned it's very hard to find, and so if you're going around town and going into the woods, which of course doesn't cost anything, it's very difficult to find. So you do have to look to buy it in a lot of cases. The cost can be, I never buy it, so I don't know exactly what the cost is right now, but you can find it a lot of places. Even in some of the coffee shops or coffee stands now, you can buy chaga tea. It's not, overly expensive where you can't afford to purchase it and use it. I don't think. Um, yeah.
Okay. And then have you used it for food? Is the powder for mixing into foods, or can the powder be sprinkled onto salad? And then also, please say hello to your parents from a vet, Vincent from Port Allsworth, Chinnan.
Yeah, the powder or the grounds can be just put directly onto food. I don't I don't do that. You can just eat it. I could grab a chunk of this and just start eating it. And you'll see a lot of different recipes in this book. Maybe I can give you a couple examples. Different kinds of drinks. Cherry tort. Berry chaga breakfast. Chaga chips. Well, there's a lot of different ways to use it for food.
I know Chef Amy makes a good chaga tiramisu, so she
Oh, really?
sprinkles it on the top. All right, what does chaga taste like? How do we know if the chaga that's being sold is authentic and not a look-alike?
What does it taste like? It tastes, it's not like Uh, it's pretty mellow. It's kind of got an earthy taste to it. Uh, I'd say it's a little more mellow than coffee and a little stronger than tea, regular tea. Um, it's got a dark color to it. It depends how much you steep it, how much grounds you use. Um, yeah, does that answer?
Yep. And another one, I think you've already answered, but we'll just check. Is it just medicinal, or do you ever put it in your food?
Oh, I don't use it in my food, but it is good to use that way. Um, my preferred way, and I didn't mention this earlier, but with the alcohol extract, believe you can get like maybe 10 times more of the medicinal properties um, from the chaga than just with the water extract or with eating.
What is the ideal harvesting temperature for chaga if you find it? Or does it matter?
Um, so what season of the year to harvest? Some places I've read that it should be done in the summer and not in the winter. Other places I've seen you should be done in the winter and not in the summer. And I think you can do it all year round. It probably adheres to the tree harder in the winter when it's frozen. I've harvested it both times, but just for access and usually in the spring or summer is when I would do it.
Okay. And then, do you make tea with the extract? Or how do you use the extract?
The extract is a very, very strong concentrate of medicine, and so you want to take small doses. In the book, David Wolf, where he's got the alcohol extract recipe, it says that you should use a drop of chaga for every year of life. So 3 times a day, 1 drop of tincture for each year of your life. So for this guy, he was 62, he would take a dropper full, or 62 drops 3 times a day. If you're fighting any kind of disease or something like that, you'd want a higher amount. But yeah, you don't take a huge amount of it.
And is there a taste or texture to it? Are there age limits? Can children have some?
Well, you want to be careful about the extract
Yeah, not
because
the
it is
extract.
alcohol, but you can extract it with non-alcohol. I don't do that, but
Can the kids have the tea?
yes, yeah. It says in this book that it's even safe for pregnant women all through the pregnancy. So that's what according to David Wolf.
This one, it says, are other funguses on the trees medicinal also?
Yes, there are different kinds of fungus on the birch trees. This is just one of them, or a mushroom. Reishi is a very good medicinal mushroom. There's, I don't know what the name of it is for specifically, but we just call it a birch punk. And I harvest those also off the birch trees, and I will burn those into an ash and mix that with tobacco and tea to make a chew.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you grow chaga like a mushroom farm, or is it only in the wild?
I believe there are some efforts to grow it and to produce it commercially. I don't know how successful that is. It grows extremely slow. This would probably take 20 plus years to grow to this size. So, and I don't know about like the medicinal quality versus wild. So,
Awesome. Thank you. So I think that is all of our questions. So thank you, John. That was very informational, and um, we appreciate your time today teaching us about chaga.